Session 3, Roundabout Method. Hello, nice to see you again. Welcome to Session 3. In this session I want to introduce you to the roundabout method, emphasizing the 6 phases in more detail. The different roles will be specified and will be fleshed out with an example. This is Julia. Julia is 51-year-old, has a supportive family, is highly experienced, and well-educated. She had a successful career in a public library for over 20 years, but then she became unemployed when she was 48. During her unemployment she did a course through the PES and found a new job in a medium-sized company at a welcome desk. Since then she had some changes and mostly terminated contracts.
Hello, I am Anna, your counselor. We provide guidance and counseling for adults who seek new opportunities and qualifications.
Hello, I am Julia. I am currently looking for support in improving my work situation.
Okay, I can help you with that. In our cooperative work, we can find out about different strategies and opportunities. Okay, this sounds promising. It is important to include my other partners in my work, to see if they can help you with information or activities. I have a huge network of partners, so if you agree, I will engage my partners to help you with your goals.
Thank you.
Phase 1 is about engagement. This includes understanding the client's interest, formulating the contract, and speaking about the initial situation. The engagement of a client, individual or from company, that is organizational, in the counseling or in the consulting process is the first and very important phase in the process. It prepares the ground for a trustful and solution-oriented cooperation between client, counselor or consultant and other partners. Different actors have different roles in the process.
As a counselor, I am trying to build good relations with my clients by creating transparency and security. Open discussions of possible concerns and interests and sorting of concerns if necessary are parts of work in the initial phase of any counseling process. I clarify with my client if, for example, other actors, like an employer or a training provider, already plays their roles in the process.
As a client, I think it is important that I share my thoughts and information about my situation and why I am searching for the support.
I am owner of a company. Changes in the company or in the company's environment require action. I think sometimes a consultant can help us in terms of skills and qualifications and identify the learning needs of our staff.
Julia's first meeting with the counselor started very openly and friendly. The counselor took time to introduce the process and Julia was able to describe her current professional situation. Together with the counselor, she formulated her interest in counseling.
With the help of the counselor, I want to find out if there is further training that would help me take a step towards a stable job.
For me, it is important that Julia trusts our cooperation and can tell me about her interests, hopes, and the specifics of her situation.
They agreed that during the counseling process they would take close look to Julia's strengths and professional experience and work out possible requirements for suitable further education. The counselor also agreed to explore current needs in the local labor market and to identify with training providers whether there are suitable training courses. Phase 2 is about assessment. In this phase, a general analysis of the personal situation as well as a specific need analysis regarding digital competences are combined. It is especially important to focus on the objective circumstances as well as to the subjective reflections and assumptions of a person, to develop appropriate solutions. In company context, it might be relevant to organize the analyses on 2 levels, organizational and job-related, as well as on an individual level, focusing and integrating individual employees.
I am an expert in the process for the clarification and analysis of the situation. I support the client through questioning, use knowledge about professions and branches, and take activities to clarify the situation.
I am the expert of my own situation. I cooperate to assess my situation and competences. The counselor supports me to reflect my reservations.
As a company, we engage in the consultancy process and describe the initial situation and our interest in the cooperation. If necessary, we obtain missing information or prepare it for the counseling process.
As training providers, we are one of the important stakeholders. Our involvement is appropriate and useful to help individuals or companies identify training needs or assess competences.
Julia, can you tell me about your current situation in the work context?
In the moment, I am not very happy with my work situation. I want to find out if I can find a better job.
What were the stages of your educational biography and professional career to this date?
I have a good qualification and have worked for years in a library. But for some years I have worked at a front desk in different companies, mostly in not stable jobs. I am not so sure if my competences and skills are good enough to find a new and interesting job in a library or in an office. I would like to work on the level of my qualification and I am willing to learn.
I suggest we plan a structured training needs analysis. We are talking also about your digital skills in a structured way. And it would be good to contact some potential employers or review their job descriptions to know about demanded skills.
For me, it is especially important that I can combine learning with my family duties. We discussed the need for financial support during a learning period because I want to reduce my working hours.
Together, Julia and the counselor discovered some criteria that make a reasonable learning situation. Julia and the counselor also found out about up-to-date skills description from various sources. The planning process consists of 3 major activities. While the goal setting is mostly done cooperatively by the counselor and the client, the planning of solutions and the agreement for next steps is strongly linked to other partners, like training institutions. Goal setting, on the one hand, is a very powerful tool for motivating people and giving them direction and energy. Therefore, setting goals in this model is part of the planning process. It should be noted that sometimes the goals seem obvious. For example, I want to have a decent job, I need a new job. However, goals must be specific and achievable. Goal setting can break down large goals into concrete sub-goals. Or it can narrow a long-term goal into realistic and plannable steps. In an organizational context, goal setting is linking to the strategical thinking and ensures that the activity is supported throughout the further process. Planning of the qualification process is based on sound research of offers matching the identified needs and the contextual aspects: time, place, learning formats, etc. Financial support is often also a very important aspect that needs to be clarified and planned. It is helpful to have clear agreements for the phase of realization. Who is doing what and how. Also, agreements for steps after a training might be relevant and helpful to give the client a longer perspective.
To support client to clarify a goal and to differentiate goals is important. I provide support in the decision-making process and help the client, whether it is an individual or in company, with my knowledge, for example, to search for training opportunities. Very important is that I am supported by activating my contacts with actors in my network.
I work out goals with support from my counselor. She encourages me to clarify the fit of my goals and then we discuss framework conditions. We define agreements and next steps.
As a company, we decide on a solution, considering the framework conditions of the employees and the other company's goals and strategies. Counseling process can help us to see different options.
As an education providers, we can support clients in checking if goals are feasible and if we are providing right offers. We can inform about funding opportunities and framework conditions. At the same time, we learn about the needs of different clients, companies or individuals.
When I started the process, my career goals were quite vague. With the process, I gained more confidence that there might be a way to see my goal in some extent. Now I take my time to formulate concrete goals. With the support of the counselor, I set some sub-goals. My main goal is to find a new, sustainable, and qualified employment. I am interested to take part in a training regarding competences like information skills, data processing and management, using computers in the office context and using digital tools for collaboration.
Together with my support, Julia screened the different training offers in the region. We identified relevant providers. I arranged contact with 2 different providers to better understand the match between Julia's needs and the offers. Together, we have collected and visualized decision criteria. This helps Julia to decide on one of the offers. Hello. My client would like to learn more about digital skills.
What exactly should the training program offer?
It's about developing skills around information skills, data processing, and data management.
Julia, do you have any previous experience in the use of IT?
Yes, I also use computers and data processing programs in my current job. But I think I lack up-to-date knowledge for more demanding tasks.
Good, I think we have suitable offers. I would like to explain them to you in more detail.
Phase 4 is about action. The focus of this phase is the implementation of a planned activity, for example when a client starts further education. This usually requires various clarifications in which the counselor plays a supporting role. For example, applications may have to be prepared, agreements made, or a contract concluded. Enabling financial support for participation in training may also require additional steps. In the case of employed people, it may be necessary to clarify with the employer the working hours and times for attending continuing vocational training. During the attendance of a training, the counselor offers support if this is needed. This is particularly relevant if the client may encounter difficulties, for instance learning or reconciling with other roles.
Now I have started my active participation in a further training measure. I know that I can contact my counselor, my company, or the training provider when I need support or if I have questions.
As a company, we have prepared everything for the further training of our employees. For example, we communicate which of employees will be taking part in continuing education and we coordinate it with the training provider. If necessary, we support the employee in their continuing education process.
As a counselor, I cooperate with employers and training providers to clarify steps needed before starting training and during the training. These cooperation partners are most important for the successful implementation of the measure.
Julia found a provider for suitable training with help of the counselor. The timing of the training were discussed with the provider. The biggest current challenge is funding. Julia can reduce her current working hours, but this will reduce her income. The counselor supports Julia with information about possible financial support of this intermediate phase. Julia and the counselor developed a written action plan to document next steps. The action plan covered the training phase but also Julia's goal to identify new possibilities on the labor market. Phase 5 is about the outcomes of the process. The outcome of the whole process is essentially the completion of the training, the identification of learning achievements and then the transfer of outcomes into the workplace, for example into a current job or into an extended job with the current employer or also into a new job. For example, in case of a job change or previous unemployment or re-entry into the labor market. In this phase, counseling can support both, reflecting on learning outcomes and presenting learning outcomes to employers, for instance updating application documents. Counselors can also offer support for further steps and agreed goals that go beyond qualification and training.
It is important that I am available in further clarification or support to transfer learning achievements. It also might be relevant that I support the documentation of learning results and outcomes. Sometimes I support clients to present their achieved learning outcomes, for instance in their CV.
Our district role in regarding the outcomes is the documentation of results. We provide learning credentials and give certificates for training.
Results of learning process should be relevant in practice. We carefully observe the transfer of learning.
Julia met with a counselor again after completing her training. Together they discussed learning outcomes and the counselor helped Julia to complete her application documents to improve her chances in finding a new job. The counselor checked with Julia the completeness of the certificate she received. With her help, Julia managed to update her CV and apply for a new job. Phase 6 is about the evaluation of the process. The point of the evaluation is to reflect and record the counseling process and results. The benefit is, on the one hand, the improvement of the counseling service and to gain knowledge for better cooperation in the network. On the other hand, the reflection supports the client to get better insight into his learning journey, strengths, and future plans. It can stimulate clients to continue the learning process and further career steps.
As a counselor, I guide evaluation and reflection. I am open for suggestions, wishes, criticism. I pass anonymously findings and experiences that are relevant beyond the individual case to cooperation partners. The counselor supports the client in reflecting on his own learning journeys, developed strengths, and next steps.
For me as a client, the counseling process was quite a learning journey. I got good support, but also gained a new strategy to develop my career and skills. The reflection of this helps me to make it more sustainable.
We also contribute to evaluation and exchange with the counselors or companies. This can create learning opportunities for us and help to improve our training offers.
At the end of the process, the counselor and Julia took time to discuss, reflect, and evaluate. On the one hand, it is about finding out how Julia experienced the support, what was helpful and supportive, and how the counseling could have been even more effective. On the other hand, the counselor wants to show Julia again what development she has gone through and how she has used and developed her resources. Julia has not only recognized her competences and needs, but she has also built up more self-confidence to assert herself on the labor market with her skills. In addition, Julia and the counselor have agreed that opportunities for advanced courses will be clarified with the training provider. Julia will now tackle her overall goal, namely to find a new job. This was a short introduction into the roundabout method with a case example. I hope you enjoyed it, and I want to invite you to use the handbook to look deeper into the different aspects of the methodology we have developed. Aside the process perspective we have focused here, you find also a chapter about the theoretical base of the method, a description of the attitudes for multi-actor collaboration, and a chapter with more detailed ideas for assessing digital skills and skills gaps. Alongside all phases, the handbook provides many methodological ideas and tools. These focus on the work with individual clients, but there are also tools that can be used in the context of counseling in companies. All methods are described and linked to the sources. But first, I have a task for you. We invite you for exchange and discussion. Thank you for your attention.